Hello there. What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about the sequel trilogy and some of the blunders that have occurred along the way. And I want to warn you guys, this is not going to be a strictly let's crap all over Disney and the sequel trilogy type of video, but I do have some opinions on it. So if you're not already aware, Daisy Ridley recently did an interview and was talking about like the process from episode 7 through 8 through 9 and how she was originally a Kenobi. I want to talk about that a little bit. And also John Boyega's had a lot to say recently as well. So I just figured it's a good time to kind of sit down and talk about this. So I'm going to do that. If you are new here, I have giveaways running all the time. There's another one that's going to be starting off this weekend. All you have to do to enter to win those is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. Also, there's links in the description below. If you want to click down there, click that See More button. If you want to follow me on social media or if you want to check out any merch, I've got merch down there. Shirts like this are all down there. It's also great ways to help support the channel. Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff. It's all down there. So if you're interested in anything more, I urge you to click that subscribe button and check out some of the links in the description below. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what happened. So I guess I'm going to take a step back, and I want to start off with John Boyega because I love John Boyega, and I think Finn was easily my second favorite part of episode 7. With the first part being Harrison Ford. I think Harrison Ford pretty much sold that movie. I think he was amazing. But John Boyega was my favorite of the new cast. He was marketed as being the Jedi. He was, like he was holding the lightsaber in the all the trailers coming up to it. It was this big secret that Rey was actually gonna, hold the lightsaber, and that Rey was gonna be like the new surprise or something like that at the end, and that was at the very, very end of the movie. But the whole movie, it's pretty much about John Boyega. It's all about Finn, and it was marketed that way. And then, or at least marketed in the United States. It was different in certain Asian audiences that didn't want like I guess a black man front and center. I'm not 100% sure on all of the decision making that went into that because that's unfortunate. But I think that's a subject for a whole nother video. But right now, John Boyega was talking about like how they kind of falsely led people in this trilogy, and basically his advice was don't market like the main character of a new trilogy being like this new black man who becomes a Jedi, and then all of a sudden take it away and then just completely sideline his character and make him irrelevant for the rest of the films. And that's pretty much what happened. And it's really what's interesting about this, like that's not really a surprise to a lot of people. I had said in episode 8 that I had certain expectations for Finn, and that was one of the things that didn't happen. And I was like, all right, well, maybe they're just setting it aside until 9. And like, I remember like the night before I went to go see episode 9, I think I did like a 2-part video talking about like, here's what I want to see for Finn. And I was like, all right, they threw me a bone. He touched a lightsaber in the movie. Like that was he used it as a flashlight. But I'm like, well, at least he got to see it. And that's kind of like what my mindset had been with the sequel trilogy. It's like, well, at least I got like one of the 100 things that I wanted, So, but I was trying to be on the bright, and I like to be an optimist. I like to be on the bright side because generally and genuinely, really genuinely is what I meant to say. I enjoy Star Wars, and generally is a good word for that too because I don't really care about Resistance. So I couldn't get into Star Wars Resistance. I tried. I watched the first season and then some of the second season. Maybe I'll go back to it someday. But generally, I like everything that's in Star Wars. I genuinely enjoy it. I make these videos because I love Star Wars. And I make video content about things that I love. And I try to be positive in that regard because it's not like I'm making a whole lot of money off of this. Like I work a normal job. This is all extra for me. I'm up till like midnight working on videos almost every single night of the week doing this because I love gaming and I love Star Wars and I love putting out these videos. And so I do earn a little bit, but it's a part-time job would pay a lot more than this, and I work a lot of hours on this. So my point of all that is I really, really do love Star Wars. And even mediocre Star Wars content is something I'm glad that we have because from a certain point of view, we didn't have much new Star Wars stuff coming out years and years ago, and then it's like Disney kind of pushed some new lifeblood into Star Wars, and I think there's a lot to be said for that because with the failures also comes some successes like Rogue One, was awesome, right? We're getting some cool new Star Wars video games now. Although honestly, we had some really cool Star Wars video games before. But there are high points of where Star Wars is right now, and there are low points as well. I try to focus more on the high points, but I think John Boyega was absolutely right. His character kind of got sidelined, and it really feeds into kind of what we're doing with Rey here, and what we're going to talk about with Rey for her interview as well. But all of episode 8, he was kind of a throwaway character. And then all of episode 9, like, there was hints that they were trying to, like, do something more with him, but they ran out of time. Like, his whole thing, Rey, I've got to tell you something. Never told her. What a missed opportunity. Why not edit that part out, you know? I mean, like, maybe they'll come back and do something with John Boyega. I don't know if Disney's going to be like, look, John Boyega, we supported you for a little bit, but then you started talking trash, and he wasn't even talking that much trash. He was like, really he's being honest. He's like, look, in the future, I would suggest you do it differently. That's kind of, he was being matter of fact. He wasn't trying to just be mean for the sake of being mean. He was trying to be helpful. And there's one thing, if you're going to criticize stuff, usually it's a good idea, especially if you're in the know, if you have some useful knowledge worth sharing, that you offer a solution rather than just throw stones. So I like what he did there. And so with, now I'm going to fast forward a little bit to just recently, the last couple of days, it's come out where Daisy Ridley was doing an interview, and Josh Gad asked her, like, did you know you were Palpatine's granddaughter from the beginning? And she's like, no. Well, so it's, basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but she says in the beginning, they told her she was a Kenobi. And, like, I would have liked that so much better. I think everybody wanted that. A lot of the early Theory Craft videos were saying, oh, she's got the British accent, Kenobi had Satine, and there's that one kid on Mandalore that could have been Rey's dad because he looked like a Kenobi. You know, he looked like a cross between Satine and Obi-Wan. You know, like, there's all of this stuff, and that would have been great. But no, that's not what happened. So originally the plan was she was a Kenobi. So in episode 7, she was a Kenobi. Then Rian Johnson took over, said, no, you're a nobody. All right, so we're like, oh, okay, so all that build-up, and she's a nobody. Okay, well, I can get on board with that idea. Then she's a nobody, and okay, now the message has changed. The message is anybody can be great. You don't have to be born into it. Okay, I don't know if that's really the message that we needed to hear, because most of the civilized world doesn't run on, like, full-blown royalty where you have to be born into. I mean, there are places that do, but even in the UK, royalty is pretty much like a ceremonial thing, and, like, doesn't really hold supreme executive power anymore. It's Parliament, right? I mean, I'm not an expert on UK politics, but I'm pretty sure it works something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I have no problem being wrong, but my point is, I don't think we needed to hear. It's like that's maybe something you would have told a young kid in, like, maybe the 14th century or something like that. You're like, it's okay, little Johnny, you can grow up to be great. You don't have to be born into a royal family. Like, that's like the message they were teaching with Last Jedi, you know, or at least one of them. And so I get it. I like the idea of you can rise above your station. Like, that's cool. But then they changed it again. And with 9, and in 9 they told her, like, hey, all right, we're thinking now, we got a new idea, Palpatine's your grandfather. And she's like, oh, okay, and while filming. But then they told her, like, oh, but we don't really know. It wasn't until, like, the very end of filming that they finally decided on what the story was going to be. And I'm like, how do you make a trilogy of blockbuster movies with no plan? And immediately, as I said that to myself, I was like, wait, didn't George Lucas do the exact same thing? Because there ain't no way he knew that Luke and Leia were brother and sister from the first 2 movies. Not after the first movie, and heck no, not after the second movie. So, okay, I guess there is some precedent for that. But boy, we should learn from history, not just completely make the same mistakes over and over again. I don't know. I think, so objectively, I think that was a mistake. I think going into doing the trilogy without a plan was a mistake. Now, I understand at some point that some plans have to change. That's a fact of life. Things change. Leia, Carrie Fisher passed away. They had to make some changes with that. And so I largely gave episode 9 a pass, because a lot of the things that I didn't like about 9, I felt were a result of them having to come up with a a Leia solution where she kind of just stood there and said yes or no, and everybody else like spelled out her dialogue. Are you saying, General, that you want us to go on this important mission and nobody must die? Yes. Oh, and should we tell the Emperor that we're coming? No. Like it was kind of cringy, but I give it a pass because I figured they were just working with what they had, and I didn't want my criticism to be that. But so now, like when you go back now and you look at the entire sequel trilogy, like I honestly say 7 was easily the best, and for a long time I said 8 was my favorite because I really liked 8 because 8 made me think, hey, they do have this plan and they just wanted to take us through a little twist early on, and now 8 is now the plan because 8 had a lot of good things going for it. But what I didn't like is that they threw out ideas from the first one, right? With the whole Rey's, oh, she's a big secret. Who is she? Oh, she's nobody. Oh, okay, well, all right. Like things like I wasn't super crazy about that, but I found value in it. But then for them to have 9 to reversed all of that, it's just like, what are we doing? Is this a choose your own adventure book? So that's a problem. And I do like Rian Johnson as a director as a whole. I don't like inserting his stuff bookended by JJ. And when JJ didn't even know it, or really bookended by JJ and Colin Trevorrow, and then last minute changes among more last minute changes and more last minute changes. So where am I going with all this? I would have loved to see Rey as a Kenobi. I would love to see Jedi Finn. I want more. I definitely want more representation, and I recognize that I'm a white male saying that. But there have been some things that have occurred in my life recently that made me think that representation matters even more so than I realized before. And so that's my personal preference. I'd like to see more diversity and more representation. Maybe you don't feel the same way. I'm not going to try and make you agree with me, but that's something that I'd like to see. But the other thing is, I would like to see more well thought out plans and designs, like The Mandalorian as a show. Amazing. Like Dave Filoni usually has pretty good ideas, but then again, he also suffers from, hey, I didn't know we were going to be able to make the season 7 of Rebels. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done what I did. And like he said before, if he knew that he was going to have the future that he was going to have, he wouldn't have killed Maul or wouldn't have done this or, So we're seeing a whole lot of like, oh, we have to change things. Oh, we have to change. How about we just pause? So here's my suggestion. How about we just pause, lay out some really long-term, framework, and try to stick to that framework. I think I understand that there's a risk that somebody leaks certain details or whatever, so don't make it super spoilery. Don't have long-term framework being that it's all Grand Admiral Thrawn come back from the grave 300 years in the future as a Sith sorcerer who destroys half the planets in the galaxy, and he wielded double-bladed darksaber that he crafted himself with the help of Yoda's dark Jedi son, right? Like, we don't need super spoilery stuff in the long-term framework, right? But keep, but have a cohesive vision and try to keep the same director on a trilogy. Like, try and keep the same people. Maybe even do a Peter Jackson and just have everybody, the whole crew, everybody. I think you could even film them all in order and then just do all your special effects and release them 3 years apart. This way you don't have to worry about somebody dying on you or whatever. If you run, things like that happen. I mean, maybe that shouldn't be the first thing that comes to my mind, but or just anything catastrophic, like, your main character loses 2 arms in a ninja accident, and then you have to CGI the arms in, or have Henry Cavill grows a mustache in between, and then you have to CGI. I don't know. Those aren't the really important things. The important things is the story. I'm kind of going off and around and all over the place now. But anyway, I think I'm going to kind of end it there. I still enjoy the sequel trilogy to an extent. I think it's easier to go back in retrospect and kind of look at the whole thing and have a different way of viewing it. When I saw the films, I did reviews same night. I came back, did a review right away, and first impressions. And I enjoyed the heck out of myself seeing all 3 of them. Look, Star Wars is fun. It's always going to be fun. Going to a movie theater and watching a Star Wars movie is always going to be an absolute blast. And I never want to lose that. I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm trying to be positive. And if they are going to make more Star Wars movies, awesome. Keep them coming. But I think you'll do better if you take your time and have a long, thought out plan, especially with some of the directions that they're going. We've got Ahsoka, Ezra, Thrawn, Sabine, all in the future, right? We've got potentially Finn, Jedi in the future. I mean, they did leave the door open for that. And Finn was supposed to become a Jedi. And hopefully John Boyega comes back to do that. John Boyega, if you're watching, and who am I kidding? John Boyega ain't watching me. I'm not that cool. But if somehow I'm cool enough for John Boyega to see this, dude, I hope you come back. I would love to see John Boyega take the lead in an entirely new sci-fi franchise. I would love for John Boyega to take the lead in an IP, in an epic IP. It doesn't even have to be sci-fi, but I think sci-fi would be really cool. But I could see him doing some kind of like medieval knight thing or something like that. But he's got a gravitas, he's got great presence, and I absolutely loved his performance in the way his character was treated in episode 7. And then 8 and 9 was just like, come on, man. Like, honestly, I would have in 8 given him some kind of Tony Stark Iron Man suit. Like, oh, you got your spine cut in half? Okay, well, now you need some electronics. Let's turn this into a cool suit, and now you're Cyber Jedi. Oh, well, Rey's got the lightsaber right now? Okay. End of 8, right? Like, middle of 8, he's trying to learn how to work this suit. It's like maybe even a little bit Mandalorian in a way, you know, and he's got a, but not specifically. And then, end of the video, when he's reunited with Rey, he's gonna like, I let you borrow that saber. Wait, no, he goes, what did you do to my lightsaber? Right? Because now it's cutting in half. And she's like, oh, it's a long story. He's like, and he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna need a teacher. And so Rey starts training Finn. Fast forward to episode 9. They're working together, all right? And I'm fine with like a Ben Solo redemption arc. I love that. Like that was like, there were good things about the sequel trilogy too. I wanted the Ben Solo redemption arc. Seeing Harrison Ford come back for 9, those are all great things. I'm going on and on and on. But the point is, take your time. Don't just rely on fan service. Although I love fan service, don't only rely on that. And that's really what 9 was, right? But you look, Star Wars fans, try to be more positive. But doesn't mean you can't let Disney know what you think. And but try and be constructive in your feedback. Try to be positive, and in a world where you can be anything, be kind. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share the video, like the video, leave a comment, click that subscribe button, click the bell, all of that stuff, and check those links in the description below if you want to buy a shirt, if you want to join Patreon, or follow me on social media, hop in my Discord, chat about the films, all kinds of cool stuff. It's all down there. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.